Order. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of approval agenda, please signify by raising your right hand. Aye.
Aye.
Sir? Are there any public comments? Oh, public comments. We need a motion to approve the committee meeting minutes from April 8th.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 And on to our first piece of business.
I'll just real quick, Brian and Keith are here with Adobe, Abode. Oh, I'm sorry.
I know, Abode looks like Adobe, it's tricky.
And they have something they'd like to present as an opportunity on the Hilton Head Island campus. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, gentlemen.
Well, nice to meet you all. I was laughing at the check-in today. The front lady, the desk at the front, lady at the front desk said, "Have you been here before?" I said, "About 23 years ago."
Oh,
Although I've lived in Hilton Head 4 years now, I was at SchoolNet, which was a technology product we brought in the district assessment and reporting a long time ago. So it's changed a bit, but it's great to be back here. Keith Kostreski and Brian Quinn, I'll let Brian introduce himself. But we're here thankful for the opportunity. Had a conversation probably the first or just before spring break. So last week of March, I think it was, and just walk through superintendent and Robert through a site that Brian and I have acquired around just on Wilborn Avenue, just behind the football stadium, and with the goal and hopeful conversation with y'all about developing a teacher educator campus for workforce housing. We are currently engaged with Novant Health and the NCCDC based on Hilton Head to build four of these buildings behind the Hilton Head Hospital campus designed for workforce housing. And it's kind of our mission and ethos in the world to kind of really help rebuild our community for the workers that are serving us every day, to give them an opportunity to live where they work. And it's a high level of where we are. And we approached Elizabeth just prior to that, being a Hilton Head resident, and helped us kind of navigate some early conversations. We're thankful for that and happy to present to you what we're thinking, get some feedback and understanding of what might be possible. So thanks for having us, Ryan.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate y'all having us as well. I've been a local resident on Hilton Head, I guess, going on almost 19 years now, and I've been building ever since. And you know, we've seen the strain, you know, just as you guys do in every aspect of you know, employment of the workforce housing issues, and just getting essential people to help with businesses. So we kind of came up with a couple of good strategies just in the construction field to try to make this as an affordable construction method that we could actually transfer that into, you know, quality workforce housing that's affordable and attainable. So yeah, we're excited to be working with the hospital. So we've been kind of dialing in a lot of the models. And once we found the Wilborn property, we found it's actually sitting at 39 Wilborn is 4.36 acres. It's an RM8, which means that we could do 8 units per acre, which is actually 34 workforce housing units. And so, yeah, we can't wait to kind of show you around it a little bit, if you want to take it.
Sure. Now, has anyone previewed it, have any questions that we can start off with? Or else we just do an overview of the project, and please ask away. It's much more efficient to have real-time questions then. So here's an executive summary that you can read through, but we're looking to do 32 units. Brian mentioned 34, but the model we have, it just fits best on the land. And some of the visuals you'll see include a few different options. One, we have to comply with parking, which is always tricky, so that lose some of the green space there. But we are, if you're not familiar with the spot, there is and let me show you, there is maybe on the next slide actually is probably valuable to see. So here's a visual of where the land is. If you don't mind me
Yeah, I was
standing.
gonna say, go ahead.
Sure.
Stand if you want.
So we look at the campus, obviously, middle school, rec center, and the elementary campus here, and obviously high school. Looks a little different these days with the construction going on. Our location is here right on Wilborn Road. It has access, this is currently teacher parking, which is now serving as the staging area for the high school construction. But we're here and would really be a wonderful walking opportunity for all campuses, including the rec center. So really found it to be a great spot. Oh, there's a better visual of where the schools are located. So the ideal mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments at workforce housing measures, which is between 80% of AMI and 120% AMI. So really fits into both your starting and early teachers to administrator level, which we know there's a lack of resources and space for them on the island and even just across the bridge in Old Town Bluffton. So we don't have to tell anyone here the challenges we have for finding teachers affordable living. So this is an opportunity that presented itself to us to maybe take a bite and support, take a bite of that challenge. So any questions on the location or what we're thinking? Okay, do you mind the next slide? Sorry, I'm not used to not controlling it. Do you mind? The next slide? Sorry, I'm not.
You're okay.
Okay. So here is the current layout of the buildings that we're doing on the hospital campus. And we are building it with the Low Country in mind, high quality. This is not if you think of modular or portable homes, this is not what that looks like. The technology has advanced so much in the last 10 to 15 years. 180-mile wind protection, energy efficient, full energy efficient ready. And these units come with appliances, high-grade appliances, and it allows us to build in a very efficient manner. So if we're talking from the beginning of construction about a 4 to 6 month time period, where traditional builds could be 18 months or so. So it helps us from a cost efficiency time as well as time to key, which I don't know if it's an official term, but one that when we see a project initiation, really that 6 to 8 month time frame to have occupants in it. So as you can see, very Low Country style. Each unit will have porch, central access through. So really want to make sure that the teachers and educators throughout the community feel that they're going back to a home, not just a place to live. So, and then with that proximity to the location, really accessible. Very bike friendly in the lot as well too. So we're taking that into consideration. So that's the design. And we felt it was very efficient for us to replicate what feedback we received from the community and the hospital with regards to the building, the apartment sizes, with look and feel and aesthetic, and take that and apply that to the proposed concept.
So one of the benefits as well of the modular construction, that you can go back up a little bit actually. So obviously, like Keith said, we've got net zero ready, which essentially means that we're fully energy efficient. I mean, these units are probably, in the $40 to $70 range in electric bill every month. And then we've got impact windows and doors, which is important. We've got 185-mile-an-hour wind zones, which even with my site-built construction, can't do, So the good thing about it is these buildings, when we have an event, will be here. Your teachers will have a place to come back to. So that was really important to us as well. But having laundry facilities in each unit, these things are very, very nice units. So it sits at 35 feet in height, which is our maximum in our zoning area. And it actually does fit on our lot and checks all the boxes as far as the density, actually 2 less than what we're the maximum is allowed. So we're excited about it. But any questions related to the construction of them? Anybody have any questions related to modular? One of the benefits to this particular supplier that we use as well is they are based in Clio, South Carolina. So it's important to kind of note that all the dollars for this project and the local contractors, they are all South Carolina based contractors. So we're tracking that probably about 95 to 97% of the dollars will stay in state, which is it's a great story.
Mr. Dallas?
Yes, very interested in the modular, the modular construction, versus stick built. And you say that the manufacturer is in Clio, South Carolina? Can you hear me?
Correct.
Yep.
Yes, correct.
Okay, okay. Can you share the name of the supplier, or is that still confidential?
No, it's Bantam, which is I believe on one of the future slides you'll see a little bit more information about them.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Looks impressive.
Mr. Guy?
You have handicap access.
We have to. Yeah, so we have to comply with all accessibility standards. We also have sprinklers that are going to be going in them. Because the porches are more than 4 feet deep, we also have to have sprinklers on the porches. It's a responsible way to do it too. I mean, people don't die in sprinklered houses, you know, so we feel like we're really kind of gearing this thing up to be as perfect as we can get it. Yeah, on the next slide, you can kind of see our first. So we're going to show you a series of options here. Okay, so parking in Hilton Head and Beaufort County is. I'm sorry, I stand.
No, I was
stand.
laughing at the
Okay,
parking, not at
okay.
you.
Okay, so I don't have to tell you guys either because you guys run education facilities that parking is probably one of your hardest things for the facility itself. So we have that same constraint with the minimum parking spots that are required for a 32 unit building. So you're looking at the first site plan here. This is actually taking over the buildable area of our lot. Now we do have we have 4.3 acres, and this is the upland area of the lot itself that is actually the buildable area. So you can see this little dotted line that's kind of on the top right there. That's our setback line. So we're really kind of squeezing everything that we can in there to actually get this done appropriately. But we've also decided that we wanted to go ahead and kind of include, because those wetlands, and I'm sure you all are familiar with the middle school observation areas, that's the same view that these guys get. So we want to take advantage of that. So we do have a bulkhead that we're putting in observation area that, you know, bird and wildlife and all that. So is there a scroll down just a little bit? Yeah, so you can see here, this would actually, sorry, I know the camera probably can't see me while I'm pointing through here, but Wilborn, you know, this is one of your main arteries that really feeds that middle school, especially the inflow and outflow. We do have school buses, you know, going through there. We are also seeing an additional curb cut here if we were to get into this community. Again, this area right here is the teacher parking, which is currently the staging area as well. So the next discussion that we kind of had with everybody a couple of weeks ago was potentially trying to get a little bit more green space into this thing. This model feels very hard, you know, with all the parking. We also have parking that's already designed right next door that will feed the residents, you know, whenever they're going to work, whenever they're staying there, whatnot too. So one of the asks that we've kind of had, and probably part of the reason why we're here, is we're looking at maybe doing a shared parking agreement. And this is the next slide here.
Thank you. That was my next question.
Mhm.
Why is this in front of us?
Yeah, so the shared parking agreement, Keith, I'll let you.
Yeah, the shared parking agreement would allow us to access with the school district if they agree to share some of the parking that's existing for our residents. So then we can cut down and add the green space into this lot. So we would be able to put in a dog park, reading garden, and some other walk spaces. It also allow us to present to the schools an option too to access this. Not that we couldn't do it the other model too, but it'd be a little more, you know, conducive to having maybe students going out as part of class to be part of that observation pathway out there as well. It's not a cost measure. It's just a way for us to enhance this experience for the educators in the campus. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
So we'll get to the residents in a second because we are planning on having this strictly for the use of
The
educations.
And the
So-
thing that we discussed as well is a lot of those parking spots would be used by the educators anyway, because they would be having to drive to work anyway.
Mhm.
So it's a spot that would have been filled, but now they can, if they're living at this housing unit, they can take a scooter over to IB if they are a teacher at IB. They can walk to the middle school, but if it's raining, they can figure out something else, but it's all parking that would have been used by educators anyway.
Mhm.
If we wanted to talk a little bit about, and sorry for the couple minutes, we did a brief introduction that this will be all compliant with the Hilton Head Workforce Housing Framework. So keeping it AMIs of at 80% to 120%. So fitting in that bucket of your starting teachers to administrators. We'll be partnering with CCDC. Are you all familiar with CCDC? It's the Coastal Community Development Corporation. It's a nonprofit based in Hilton Head and serves the whole country, serving the needs of the workforce housing. So they have the application process goes through them. They have fair housing licenses. They would not monitor income levels, et cetera. So having that other layer, and we are both have elementary age, state age daughters, and I've been in the education space for about 30 years, know how critical it is with having housing development that close to campuses, not just one. So having that layer of a vetted, secure application process, you never get it right perfect, but it really having that layer in collaboration with the town and county. So that's a very strong thing to bring up as well.
This is a little bit more of an enhanced version of the other, the site plan 2 that we just saw. This would include any sort of pool or amenity center if we wanted to add an additional. So that basically adds in just another element. We also do have the rec center across the street, which has a pool. But just to kind of show what we can do back there is kind of the intent of this one. So.
Well, and one of the things we talked about too was privacy of the educators. For example, the rec center is there and accessible, but if they want their own swimming pool to go to and not see their students on the weekend or in the evenings, because as board members, a lot of us know we can go to a public event and be bombarded with, everybody, and our educators get that as well. So this would offer them something private.
So
enjoy.
Before we get to the next slide, so essentially we would have to expand a little bit of the parking from what's existing there, which would obviously all be on the project cost in general. But the acreage for the lot that you guys have is actually 25 Wilborn Road, which is right next door. You have 10.76 acres back there, which also incorporates I believe that is the lacrosse field. Is that right? Back in there? Or was that softball?
Well, it's called the hidden field.
The hidden field is back in there.
I don't know what they use. I think it's soccer.
So that field is actually on that property that the parking is on as well. So not necessarily infringing on any of that type of parking. And I think that there's an additional parking lot where they used to sell Christmas trees that are right there.
Yeah.
So there's space for us to be creative. That was appropriate. And then just for giggles, not for giggles, but just to show the potential there, if this was if a project that took off and you had high demand, not only from the island, but even looking into Bluffton, we had a fourth option here that we don't need to distract the conversation with, but you all have it. The next slide is one that if there was an interest from the county on adding a second building, this was just a preliminary drawing of what that could look like with regards to that space. And then this is on your property as well, but maybe potential for expansion if you saw an uptick or high interest from the community, from your community of teachers and administrators. Just throwing that out there as an option as we looked at it that way.
So just for context here, the existing that is built right now is this loop that is currently in place. So that would just we have an option right there that is off wetlands. If this becomes a remarkably successful endeavor, maybe we can talk on a later point, but just to kind of show that there are there are options in the future.
Duplicate slide, sorry about that. Here are just the floor plans. I don't know if you want to look at them. You all have a copy of that, what that looks like in the design. If there's any questions of that, reach out. But I think 2 slides down, I do have a copy of the AMI levels to give you a, well, that's a little small. But just to give you, this is 2024. We do have 2025 that just came out maybe 10 days ago. So we're modeling off of that. But this just gives you an idea of what the, what those rents would look like if you
Keep going.
if you scroll down a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
Yeah, keep going if you don't mind. This is the breakout of the 80%. What is that salary, the monthly income, and then the affordable rent measure. The affordable rent by HUD and the county is 30% of your monthly income based off of that level. So these are the levels that we're targeting for rent. And if you scroll a little bit to the left.
And to put that in context for people who may not know the island prices, like a 2-bedroom, which we actually looked through when we had one of our other meetings, when you actually look through what 2-bedroom condos, apartments are currently going for on the island, it's minimum $500,000 right now. For a 2-bedroom, anything on the island is minimum $500,000. So this rent is incredible compared to anything anyone can touch on the island.
And then there's just not the capacity for the rentals. I mean,
Yeah.
the short-term rental market has really gobbled up any of those inventory. You know, it's just the motion of how it's going. So this would be reserved 99 years into, on this workforce housing. The workforce housing framework is a 30-year commitment, but the plan is to retain that.
The old Hilton Head Christian location where they put the Aquaterra is what they've called it.
Which that went up fast.
They went up fast. The 2-bedroom units there are just shy of $4,000 a month.
Yes.
Mrs. Boatright?
Thank you. Yeah, I think this is fantastic. My next house is going to be modular. I think everything should be modular. I'm over the stick built. So I think this is fantastic. The 2 questions, I guess, first of all, I just want to clarify the future plans, the slide number 4, we're not talking about infringing on any of the fields, right? It didn't look like it on the drawing. I just wanted to clarify.
It is currently green space where that is, but we're not really, we're showing this as just kind of a fun slide of what, if we can make this successful, and all of a sudden we've got 32 people and we've got 32 more that are sitting there going, we need one too. We have the capacity if we can come to an agreement.
Yeah, this is really more directed at district staff because the high school does have 3 fields and they call that the hidden field, but it gets used like crazy because we don't have a middle school field. So I just wanted to point that out to the district staff that we can't go down a field. And then the other thing is, I think what the district needs to look at with this, our traffic around there is horrendous already. I mean, I have been hit. I've seen kids hit. It's backing up onto Gumtree. Gumtree kind of gets to be a mess. I do think you're going to have to think about how you're going to direct that traffic because people will try to cut through those parking lots. That's going to be an issue because the traffic there, the way Hilton Head does it with all 4 schools like clumped on one round road. I'm sure they thought that was a good idea at some point, but it's kind of a nightmare. So I definitely think that the district needs to be in partnership with you guys to figure out if there's an opportunity for a better traffic flow around the schools.
I think that's a tremendous point to bring up. One thing we are considering that we're hoping that 90 to 100% of these occupants, of these residents are working on these campuses. So ideally that would limit some of the high traffic times in the morning. Again, you'd see some of that and you see students coming in buses. Absolutely. It would be the off hours where ideally that's when the schools are not at their peak of traffic too, but absolutely consideration. The other component is that in this shared, even scenario 2, where we look at the shared parking, we would not have that curb cut into the lot. We would use that through the teacher parking. So you would have one less pinch point for another turn in. So just a great point. And we'd absolutely do that parking study in conjunction with y'all on that. Just wanted to add those 2 points. That makes
Just
sense.
any opportunity to get that flow better. But I will say for a long time, I've been at Hilton Head High since 2013. People have been like, why can't we build, like cut through, at least, I mean, even for emergency, egress type of thing. So I think you'll have tremendous support from the community. I think it's a great idea.
Questions?
And in terms of, first off, I know the county has some people who are working on workforce houses. That would have to be your group, right?
Not in Beaufort County. We're working right now solely in Hilton Head.
Okay, so y'all just bring us to the board along with Mrs.
Hey.
Yeah. So y'all just bring this to board along with Hey. Is that my understanding?
No, we need an easement. If this is gonna happen for the teachers on Hilton Head, there's an easement that's necessary.
Okay, and then also, to get a clear understanding, so what happens, these apartments are so close, and giving you the easement. What happens, because most of the time what I see is that they may start off as affordable teaching housing, but in years to come, they may change. And so that's a concern, giving you an easement and that being that close to the property. I'm concerned what that may look like, because to me that's a very that's a very concerning piece with it being as close as they are to the school buildings, and actually giving you guys an easement. And like I said, most even around here we have a lot of apartment complexes. They start off at affordable housing. The next thing you know, they're luxury condos, and what would we put in place, and how that would be what it is, and what type of contractor.
And on Hilton Head, we actually have the opposite problem. Things will begin as affordable housing and they will turn into essentially a slum, and they don't go up. It's usually the problem that it comes down. And this is something that I had asked Brian and Keith about, which is part of why CCDC is being used to mitigate issues like that happening in the future.
And the workforce housing agreement, and I think the town of Hilton Head, in conjunction with the county, Beaufort County, created a framework that allows, we sign a 30-year covenant with the town that will commit to the income levels being met. So being workforce housing for a minimum of 30 years. Our plan is the 99 years. CCDC is all of their CCDC is oriented by buying 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, either small houses or condos, refurbishing them and putting them in this model. That's a 99-year covenant. So with CCDC involved as that nonprofit, we're signing with the town and county an agreement that at a minimum 30 years, but the ideal is 99 years that this is remaining workforce housing in that. So that's kind of like, I don't say the maximum we can go, but that is what the town has put in place, and the covenant we would sign would be a 30-year commitment.
And even and I do understand that, but even to that, I would still be thinking that if this property would ever be sold, that school board would definitely get the first buyers.
Absolutely.
The first
first refusal.
And it will be deed restricted with the county too. So the new buyer would have to abide by the agreement as well.
But that's something that we, as part of the conversation, like, we're not asking, participation from the county, from the school district or the county. Just more really here to have a conversation about collaboration and what you all need to support or endorse this or be excited about it, for the most part. And I think as if we had an agreement with an easement, that could be locked into right of first refusal.
Sure.
And even certain number of units being reserved specifically for the county schools, because we know that, you have the first tee over there, the Boys and Girls Club, you have the rec center, and other service industry folks that would want this, but we want you to be, schools to be first in mind. Great points. No, absolutely taken, and
it's a sensitive subject, and we understand that. And yeah, we've tried to work through a lot of those details to make sure that this doesn't turn into something that it's not intended to be. There's a mission here, and part of the mission is obviously the green space and the look and feel of the community as well. And I think that we can all collaborate potentially with an agreement here with parking, and we're also not coming through asking for anything free. If there's a lease agreement for parking or anything like that, we're happy to entertain any of those options. It just creates a better community, I mean, you saw how hard it looks for that first slide, you know.
Well, and this really, Dr. Rodriguez isn't here, but he and I had discussed this as a tool for recruiting and retention, because that's a problem we're having nationwide. We're having that issue in our community being the county. And this is a huge recruiting tool. If youngsters coming out of college or wherever, or maybe they have 5 years under their belt teaching, but they can't afford to live where we live.
Mhm.
This is a great option and a tool that we have in our arsenal then to attract talent that we currently don't have.
Mr. Giles?
Yeah, I think it's a very attractive project. Just have one question on the utilization restrictions. What would that look like out of the 32 units that the school district might be able to sort of lock in?
Our intent here is that this is all for right of first for Beaufort County teachers or educators on the island, and we know that the preference would be to your educators. So from our research, I think you could fill it. If you look at, I mean, I think we have slide number 2 or 3. I'm sorry, the one that's called, we nicknamed it the Uplands, but you have 85 teachers at the high school, 66 teachers at the middle school, and 77 at the elementary school. I don't know what the projections are for the expanded high school, but I'm sure that projections of the population growth will increase. So there's a nice pool there. And then you think of rec center and Boys and Girls Club that are approximated as well. So
Well, and currently in the current market, a lot of people are looking to sell their homes. So if there are even educators that are currently in a home that they could double their profit on, if they could sell it and get into one of these, just like Ingrid just said, so many people are like, let me dump this massive asset that's a drain on my time, my energy, all the things, and they could end up in one of these units. Depending on how Frank decides to utilize it. He may decide he wants this utilized as new teachers to the area. It all depends on, how this ends up being used as a tool.
And could I go back to my second question? If yeah. So I get the sense you're willing to codify the utilization restrictions as they apply to the school district. So I'm very pleased to hear that you're willing to do that. The second thing is on where you put more greenery in. I think it was slide 2 or 4 up near the beginning. Is that all within the boundaries of the 4.3 acres?
yes, sir.
Okay, that's good too.
If you look at the tree line, I think is a good demarcation of what is buildable. And then the wetlands are beyond that. They're a little faded out there, but the property actually goes out into the walkway or the.
And then my last comment is the AMI rates based on the AMI. We have mobile homes on the island that are going for $3,000 plus a month.
Yes, sir.
And so this is a very, very attractive rate that you've produced so far. So thank you.
And quite a lot of credit to the county and to the town of Hilton Head on building this framework. They've went out, it's now starting to take hold, and it's really given organizations like ours an ability to explore this idea. And so I'm very thankful for your time and great questions.
Any other questions so far? Who's the property manager? Is it CCDC?
CCDCs.
So they'll be the property manager changing out light bulbs and fixing HVAC and all that kind of stuff.
Well, even one of my major concerns, which I'll just voice since this meeting is publicly accessible. One of my major concerns, being a mother of young children, seeing this go in near all of our schools, is the vetting of any adult living there. I want them cleared for violent offenses, pedophilia, whatever it may be, that no one would be able, with a background such as that, to live in there. So for example, if a teacher comes to CCDC and applies to live here, and their spouse is a pedophile, has some kind of violent offense, they would not qualify to live in this building.
And that was critical. Thank you for that point. That was critical for the partnership with CCDC. They have the ability and from fair housing to be able to do the proper vetting.
But on anyone who lives there, who's an adult.
There's a lot of discussions that are going to be happening in the future of the design of that. And,
Yeah.
you know, everybody in this room will have an active impact of being able to kind of that vetting process and designing it out.
For whatever it's worth, I strongly support board member Hayes' comments. I think that's critically important.
Is there a traffic study done on the current parking lot out there? So if there's not an apartment there now or apartment building there now, what is the use of the parking lot? Right now, it's being used for
It's
state.
literally storage. Yeah, it's just pallets of stuff.
Was it a used parking lot before it was a storage?
It hasn't
No,
really.
not really.
It's farther away, yeah.
And I will say, once the high school is finished, there'll be more parking at the high school than there is today. With that parking lot, it's been never really been fully used, because it's kind of hidden and dark and all sorts of stuff like that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
if we're
that's
gonna
what
move,
teenagers hate.
so if we're gonna move forward with this, the version that you're asking for, or would be the most beneficial, would be to use as much of the property for green space and have an agreement to use the school's parking lot.
Yes, in partial.
Okay,
There's there's two versions. One, you're just giving them an access to Wilborn Road.
Right.
So that just easement, that's this version right here.
of which there would be no green space and you would use all that for parking.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the second is if we come to some agreement on them using the
Yeah.
parking. lot.
Then we could have greenery or a swimming pool for the teachers. And that dock that Keith was talking about over to the right
Mhm.
is like basically a marsh observation area.
And yes, we know the teenagers are back there based on what we find. But we will-
The lot, yes, because the lot is currently pretty hidden, but it's also pretty flat already. So it's a hidden gem, because when Keith first took me back there, I was like, oh, I had no idea this was beyond the tree line. But it's pretty much geared up and like ready to go.
We did have a natural resources permit to do some bush hogging back there. If anybody would like to, you know, set up a field trip, if you want to come see it, I'd be happy to walk you through it as well. It is pretty clear too, so just wear boots and
Or sneakers. Or whatever.
Mr. Chair, I would like to take them up on that to actually view it. I think it's
Yeah.
pretty.
Do it, Carlton.
On that same note, we've taken this approach with the hospital project as well. We would love this building and design process, if it goes forward, to really be community and include elementary, middle, high school students and teachers to classes to watch the process, understand that we'll come in and be a part of talks that they are. The modular build will be pretty exciting to see. It's like the last slide, if we go to the last slide, it is real life Lego building. You come in maybe a 2 or 3 week period with a crane and they pull one more, yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, we like,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
we can set that entire building in the middle in about 6 days.
So we think some projects that with ACE or any of the CTE programs, science and engineering, to be a part of it as much as possible. There's opportunities for the wetland cleanup as well for volunteer and those things that 100% want that to be a part of this program if we do that together.
We also, you know, we're welcoming, you know, like our reading garden and maybe even the observation, you know, if there's a specific teacher that, you know, naming rights, that, you know, can come to mind on things too. So, I mean, we really want to keep this as a community-based project for the school district. And we would like this scalable. You know, we're hoping that this is a successful enough model that we can bring it wherever you guys need it.
Got some other places, but yeah.
Okay. But you know, we're passionate about this. We, you know, I have a 6th grader right now at St. Francis. Sorry, but we, you know, she's in the ballet and she does the ballet studio or things at the high school. And we were there last weekend for a performance, and she just looked at the high school and all the work that's going on, and she goes, "I want to go to school here," you know. And so, you know, as a personal level too, we're sitting here going, we want the teacher force as strong as it can be too. So, you know, we want to, you know,
6 daughters under 6th grade between the two of us. So this is their future home as well. And so it is very personal to us as well. So.
Awesome. Is there a motion to support?
Make that motion.
Yeah, I'm like.
That's right. Beaufort County School District Operations Committee recommends that the Board of Education grant or deny support for an easement allowing the connection of 39 Wilborn to Wilborn Road or a parking lot on Beaufort County School District property.
So let me just say, so that motion is actually, it's kind of for that first version. So if you're wanting to, go into sharing parking lot, we probably need to change that, say authorize the superintendent to finalize a, shared use agreement. This is the wrong one, so.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get, to grant or deny, support for a shared use agreement, allowing, the connection of the property to the parking lot. Let me write that down for you.
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
For a share.
Use agreement. Parking lot shared use agreement. Allowing 30 North Wilborn to connect to the parking lot, yeah. To use the parking,
Your address is 25 Wilborn.
to use the parking lot on 25 Wilborn, okay.
I also have the parcel number if you want it.
No, we don't even go to that level. That should-
Don't
all
do it.
right.
Really, we're, yeah, okay. You got it.
Terrible handwriting.
I don't say that.
Talk last.
Can you follow it? I told you that's terrible handwriting.
That's Facebook.
Mr. Chair,
Recommends that.
Yes, Mr. Dallas.
Board of Education support for,
Parking lot shared use agreement.
Oh.
Of 39 Wilborn
right?
to use the parking lot at 25 Wilborn.
Okay, let me try this.
All right.
Beaufort County School District Operations Committee recommends that the Board of Education grant or deny support.
Grant.
Grant
Support.
grant support for a parking lot shared agreement easement allowing of 39 Wilborn to use the
Yeah,
to
you
use
got
the
it.
parking lot for 25 Wilborn,
On 25 Wilborn.
on 25 Wilborn.
Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second that.
second.
then may I have a question?
Discussion? Yes, Mr. Dallas.
So I'm just wondering, how many spaces would the first version lose in a shared parking lot? Because conversely, that means that some of the parking spaces that would normally go to the schools, other employees would lose those to those potential. So I'm just trying to see what's the net impact on the spaces available for our other remaining employees.
So that parking lot is currently not being used by employees. It is being used for construction right now. The question would be how soon, I mean, now we're getting down into the details, but the question would be how soon do you need that parking lot? Because we need it for construction through, summer of 26.
And we'll be working through details. So this gets us to a design phase,
Yeah.
that everybody will have.
So those are the kind of details we have to work out, because we would need that parking lot, I think, to somewhere around summer of 26. And,
Right.
Robert, if we meet max density of what we're talking about, which actually is 34 units, which we're not going to 34, we're going to 32, we need 67 spots.
and how many did that parking lot have?
It's actually on here. 22, 25. Like 47.
So some of the green space would still have to be used for parking.
Yeah, we also have opportunities with the roundabout to pick up some parallel spots. So we're gonna have to do a study to utilize.
What we can do, hearing you, Mr. Dallas, maybe come back to the committee when an agreement is finalized or worked through. And then once we've got more details, bring that back to the committee work.
Yeah, I'd like to use this as like a notice of like to proceed with a little bit deeper design.
So what they're doing basically, so the way this process goes is what they're doing is they're recommending to the board, which will then meet next week to approve this. If the board approves it, they're just giving the superintendent the authority to begin planning out a project.
There you go.
And then, you could set that, you want it brought back to you once that negotiation's done, or you could set that when the negotiation's done, superintendent can sign off on it and off you go. That'd be up to the board when they review it to make that decision. So that's
Yeah,
kind of the way-
what I was thinking is just include the authorization for the superintendent up to including the parking lot exchange. And then the superintendent is empowered to determine whether or not the cannibalization of about 20 parking spaces currently in use or potentially currently would be in use. Is that okay? And then he can come back and say, yep, everything is fine. I'm not trying to delay the project. I think it's a positive project.
And it may be those 20 or whatever have to go on y'all's property.
And yeah, Mr. Dow, I do hear what you're saying, but normally in operations, we've always had a project, something like this to be brought back to the board, just so we're being transparent, because everything sounds good. And I don't want us to get in the emotional phase of it, but I want us to do stay focused and make sure that what we're signing on and what we're agreeing to, that we are staying focused there, because the superintendent is not here and the board is making this decision. So I think that it would be appropriate to bring it back to the board before the final, before the final decision is made. All due respect.
And if I could make a quick,
Let me just, if I may, Ms. Boatright, I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to that. Just as long as the superintendent has the latitude up to including the exchange of parking, and then he can come back to the board. I'm fine with that. Thank you. I'm through.
my only point here is what we do is we make a motion that authorizes the superintendent to enter negotiations on this project. And then, as he always does, once a contract has been, or, something's been worked out details, then he brings it back to the board for us to approve, deny, or send back for more information. So that's really the phase that we're at. And that's what we've traditionally done, is right to the board approval for the superintendent to get to negotiate with Abode, right? Abode, that's what we settled on? Not Adobe, Abode, for our work for, this project.
I'm fine. That's even better. Thank you.
Well, those are good, because there's actually some of those, the details of the contract need to be worked out as well on how the housing is divvied up and all that stuff.
And we have worked with the town. It's interesting, a 1-bedroom requires 1.4 parking spots. So so there is some give and take. It is a little quirky, but we've also have conversations with the town on, we can ask for some latitude on that as well. And then we have parking, bike parking that takes out some of those spots too, that we know will utilize in that spot too. So there's some flexibility there that we want to share with you all as well.
So when we go to the next board meeting, the motion can include that we direct the superintendent for this negotiations, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So that would be a
Well, once
Tuesday.
y'all
That would be
finalize and vote on the motion.
This has to move first.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Anything from participants online?
So
All
quick question.
Nothing here.
So the board, right, what would be the difference between what you just said in your motion and the motion that was currently read?
Let's vote on the motion and then we can talk about that.
No. Maybe you didn't hear what I just said.
I understand what you're saying, and I'll answer the question.
Okay, well, go ahead and answer.
This is to take it to the full board.
Okay.
When we get to the full board, then the full board can direct this saves us.
Got you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This saves us from having to amend the motion.
Again.
Thank you.
Cool. Copacetic? All right. Any other discussion?
All those in favor,
Signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bring water next time. Thank you. And cookies.
Cookies. Bring cookies.
Thank you. Thank you all for the time. Appreciate it.
You know what, you can have that back.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think what you're saying.
And let me know on that field trip.
Oh, yeah, I'll walk you.
I have a few here. If you ever need to get, you know how to get a hold of me.
Yep.
Here you go, gentlemen.
This is the front door. Do the front, the new front exit.
Join us now?
You have a card? Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. And no more. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, thank you.
All right,
Ladies and
now. Appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, so, Mr. Dan Reinback with Town of Bluffton is back in front of you. I think he holds the record as the person that has come to the Operation Committee the most times over the last 2 years or something like that. This is about the agreement of the parking lot at behind MC Riley Elementary on Pritchard Street. If you remember last time he brought this, there was something that needed to be corrected in, the agreement. That has since been corrected. So he's back in front of you again with the finalized agreement, cost share. Anything else you want to add?
No, just since the last meeting, there were comments, good comments that were provided by the board with regards to the agreement, the cost of the agreement, and then also the easement exhibit. And since that time, we had gotten some additional information from Dominion and their lighting plan that impacted the easement exhibit that you saw at the last meeting. And so the easement exhibit that exists here in your packet today is the final easement exhibit for lighting, drainage, and temporary construction easements. And then also discussion with regards to the intergovernmental agreement, reimbursement for the portions of the parking lot cost. That was also updated and revised based on the language and also total cost. And the cost has gone down from the last discussion.
That's always a good
Bonus.
thing. Is this a hard bid number now, or are you stuck?
No, that's based on the construction engineer's estimate.
So
The way that this will work as we move forward, we will put this out for public bid based on the public bid numbers and the items that are presented in the bid form. We use that numbers to determine the final reimbursement cost and the cost associated with the project, including any change orders that may be related to those items. So the cost estimate also includes the cost estimate figure plus a 20% contingency on top of that to account for any potential change orders. Regarding change orders, the biggest thing that I would see there is the subgrade of the existing parking lot. We may have to undercut the existing subgrade, some to get to a firm subgrade and then backfill that with aggregate material. That's to be determined at the time of construction.
So if I'm correct, the amount that we're responsible for is the 232,990.
Correct.
And that is we have this in 8% funding that's already been approved by the board, and that's under the amount. I think we have 100,000 in that account. So it's within our budget that we have set for this project.
Already approved by the board.
Funding is.
Right.
This hasn't been approved yet.
Right. Gotcha. Is there a motion?
So, before we do that, my question would be, what was, just for the public, what was need to be changed? Can we name those in specific, when coming back?
You remember, it was,
There was something in there.
There was verbiage in there that said, that we would share the cost,
All right.
but then the final version said that we were paying. So I asked to have that verbiage.
50-50.
Yeah.
We're really not. We're
Yeah.
only sharing our portion.
Yes. So that verbiage was removed from the agreement.
I move that the Operations Committee recommend that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to finalize easement documents and sign Pritchard Street easement agreement and the intergovernmental cost share agreement with the town of Bluffton.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Carr, thank you. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain?
Motion moves forward. Anything else? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your
This will
support.
go to the board meeting next week.
Okay.
So it won't be finalized until approved by the board.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, ladies.
Alrighty, so we have our first quarter FOIA report. We've seen a substantial increase of FOIA requests this quarter compared to last year's first quarter report. This quarter, we've had a total of 33 requests, and last year we had 18 requests. We received the most requests during March with 15 requests. Many of these requests are for email polls and RFP contracts. And that's our first quarter FOIA report. If you have any questions, happy to address them.
Do we know why we're getting contracts pulled? And who's pulling them?
I don't know why per se, but it is, I know other districts are as well. Is it kind of seasonal, Robert?
Yeah, as I say, we have a lot of stuff that's been going out, in preparation for the referendum, so we've got a lot of contracts. And a lot of times it's contractors that don't win the award, trying to get information about who won the award and stuff like that.
So then I would think that would be normal then. If that's the case, then I wouldn't think that would be a large amount. I would just think that would be a normal.
Well, we've had more contracts going out than normal, what makes it unnormal. Just been all. We've been very busy with procurement because with the 2023 referendum going out, we've almost bid all those projects out. So we've been very active getting those projects out on the street.
So we're saying that are you saying that we've had way much more contracts than now before now than what we have currently in that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, we're almost done. So from this point on, that should go away because we're not going to have as much going out.
So last year, you did not have that same volume of contracts going out. Now that you have the 2023 motion and you're bidding out all the projects, that's why you're getting a lot of asks from contractors if they,
All these agreements are going out because we are in the midst of execution. So.
Right, but what I was saying was that to me, then that's the case, then this probably I would look at it as being normal. I mean, that's just from where I said that was my comment. So he decided that seemed like he was disagreeing, so I wanted to see what was the disagreement, what was the disagreement in the statement, if that made sense. Yeah, that was my question. What was the disagreement?
No, that makes sense. There's not a disagreement. I think Robert's saying in a cyclical fashion, that this is appropriate. And because there was more this year than there was last year, it's lining up actually correctly.
Okay. And also, do you, as my colleague so eloquently says, do we have a graph or something so that we can have this to show us every year or each year, so we can keep track of what FOIA looks like in terms of like more of a, I guess, a pie graph or something so that we can understand exactly.
We can do a graph.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's no problem.
So from year to year, so we can see how that fluctuates.
Yeah, as part of our annual report, put it in there. We could do that.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's fine. Whenever you bring the report, that I think that'd be
Sure.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All I have. Anything else? Anybody online?
All good.
Yeah, motion.
We'll go forward and place on consent agenda if that is the will of the committee.
Make a motion.
So we need a motion to place this on the consent agenda.
If that's the will of the committee.
Is there a motion to place this on the consent agenda?
Motion that is placed on the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Motion was that an aye?
Yes. That was an aye.
Now I think people like to know that we discussed this public this report. So I may pull it off consent, so I'm not sure. So I'm gonna vote no on that.
Okay.
Anything else?
We're good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Marcus, you're up.
It's fun. Did I send this to you? Initials on here.
Is there a clock meeting tomorrow?
Yeah.
6 p.m. Okay, gotcha. You said that rather emphatically. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
like these are back to back, which is
Yeah.
perfect, actually. Just
That's what I thought.
one beats up the other, so we're good.
6 p.m.
Yes, Okatee Elementary. All right, so, good evening. So, with my construction updates through the end of April on the 2019 referendum. We are working on the closeouts. We are officially done with the physical labor at the schools, and we are now working on the compilation of closeouts. We do have some confirmation from contractors that we will see. Well, we started receiving the closeout documents, but we are getting financial closeouts for a good chunk of the projects this month. Financial summary, we have 210 financial commitments completed to date. Regarding the financial updates for the 2019 referendum as of April, or the end of April, our original budget was 375 million, and a little bit over that amount. Paid and committed funds, 372.26 million, and the remaining available funds, including the contingency, equaled $3.45 million. Contingency activity at the end of April included the use of 535, a little bit of over $535,000, and the contingency remaining at the end of that was 2.49 million. I can tell you that as of now, we've actually committed more regarding those suggested items that we have brought forward. So we actually have about I remember I said it was like $1.5 million left in contingency at this moment. So we are making headway on using the remaining contingency for the referendum. Now, if you had a chance to review the remaining program contingency commitments, we made some adjustments to the list that we had presented originally. What happened was that bond counsel have reviewed all the items, and they suggested that we did not use the remaining funds for attic stock or extra on-hand equipment for the, so what they were focusing was on capital improvement projects. And what was suggested is that we maintain the use of the funds to the categories that were being done the original referendum, and that's the way that we proceeded. So the project managers went ahead and gave us more feedback on some items that did get or that could get done with the referendum, and pricing has been coming on for those projects. With that being said, all the items that have been brought forth, we still have sufficient under forecast, or we believe that we will have sufficient to fund all of these items that are coming forward. So from the project managers or from
The
staff, it's feedback from principals and project managers, and we're working right now. What the focus is to continue to work on the projects that we had on the list that were not removed because of this comments from bond counsel. So that is the emphasis, and then the other items I think is just falling in the categories of the referendum and taking priority based on what the asset type would be. So if you have a safety security item, obviously it's going to be prioritized over an item that would be, say, something that's like a technology, infrastructure project. So that's the way that we're working forward with these items that are coming through.
Okay, so bond counsel pretty much scrapped our suggested items list as far as extra inventory goes
That's right.
for cameras and all that kind of stuff, and said, find ways to actually spend it on the capital projects,
That's correct.
on improving the capital projects. So
Yes.
some upgrades in areas, as opposed to,
That, yeah, exactly. And that fell again within the category of the referendum itself.
Okay.
So then that's what the main focus has been so far.
got it.
Any questions from the group? All right, moving forward to the 2023 bond referendum monthly project updates. We still have the yellow traffic light on Maryville Elementary. We actually received the
traffic impact analysis today, and I know Robert was going through over 200 pages of the report. Obviously, there's still more to go, but I believe there is a meeting set up with the POA.
We haven't set one up.
Oh, still not.
working
Alright.
on the settings. It's gonna be not this week, but next week.
So there should be some headway made on those discussions with the POA. Hopefully, after that, we can come to an agreement and just move forward so that we can start the actual construction and get the final permit from the town of Bluffton. May River
I will just say there were no surprises in the traffic impact analysis, so that was good to see. So,
Quick question, I apologize. Did I hear you right? Did you say that the 8% list, is that what you were stating a minute ago?
No.
Which listed bond council,
So remember I brought forth a list of suggested items to spend the remaining referendum funds on?
contingency funds that were at
Yes,
the end of the
Right.
project.
that's the list that I was talking about. So bond,
2019.
right? So,
go ahead.
you go ahead.
No, so the bond council, when they reviewed the list, there were some items in there that were just gonna be surplus items. Like we said, some extra cameras or additional.
Speakers for classrooms in case if something went RE and we had to replace it. Bond council suggested that is not the way that we should be spending the funds for referendum, that we should focus on capital improvements, which means you have to focus on items that are like actual. So for example, like the renovations of our interior space, something that's more tangible that
Actually, that you can, add some appreciation to this,
those values. So it makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so going back, anything else in May River Elementary or, all right, so moving forward, May River High School CTE, and the JROTC additions. So the mezzanine beams are in place. Actually, they were gonna be putting some of the, steel beams in there and they were working on some of the spaces to try to put some roofing over, but yesterday, obviously with the rain, so that was not able to happen. But if you go there recently, the JROTC portion already has metal deck and there's a lot of roughing ins going in. At the new early learning center, for Bluffton, there is a public reading going on tonight, which is the beginning for the rezoning, and that is scheduled to complete at the end of this month. The SDs are scheduled to be received by the end of the quarter. I believe from the project manager, we may be seeing them hopefully towards the end of this month. Hilton Head Island High School, that project is moving right along. I mean, if you guys have seen it, there's drywall, everything is coming to life in that project. So I encourage those of you who haven't gone to go and possibly
see if there's a chance to swing by, maybe let the project manager or the construction team know that you'd like to visit that project. The new Ladies Island Elementary Middle School, that's another project that there's a public reading tonight for the rezoning. And I believe that will be the first reading. There's still gonna be a couple more, but from the last meeting that occurred, there was not much opposition. It seemed like everybody was in favor of the efforts to rezone the facility. The final SD submittals are scheduled to occur at the end of this month, so we should be seeing.
Ladies Island Middle Elementary?
Ladies Island Middle School.
Okay, okay.
Apologies,
Okay, cause yeah, that's, we had that situation before where we're talking about that being a K through 12.
Oh, no, that is not the intent. It's gonna be a middle
I
school.
don't want nobody to see this and call me and say, you sat right there and didn't say nothing. Be clear.
All right. On the financial updates for the 2023 referendum at the end of April, the current budget still remains at 439.03 million. The paid and committed funds to date are 182.6 million. Remaining available funds at the end of the month, including the contingency, were 256.44 million. There was no contingency activity to report for the month. So we still remain at $11.72 million for contingency. And the project level contingencies remain at $13.81 million. Any questions regarding the 23 referendum updates? All right, moving right along to.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, sir.
The 2023 referendum, some of the projects, I thought, and I don't have my notes in front of me, for the Whale Branch area, I know James J. David, was that 2023, right?
That is correct. The parking lot?
Yeah, the parking lot, in
Yeah.
addition to the parking lot. So where we at on that?
That, we just recently got the civil engineers under contract, so they are starting, they're submitting their proposals for surveying, so it's starting. And
Okay,
once we really start getting some movement in that, we will start reporting more on those projects.
I got you, I got you. What about the HVAC at?
The HVAC is in the 8% projects, but in either case, I mean, I'm gonna get to that section. The 8%, there is work that's scheduled to occur this summer at the school. So that's when, as soon as the kids leave,
Okay,
that's when they'll move. And I know they have to coordinate with the EOC so that they make
Right.
sure that they don't disrupt any of those areas if some of the HVAC that is being done in there does affect some of those wings.
got you.
So
Okay,
that will
thank
be
you,
this summer.
thank you.
And also, how about the cakes at Beaufort High School?
The what, I'm sorry?
The cake programs at Beaufort High School?
Beaufort High School,
Yeah.
they are at DD level.
Yeah, we're actually kind of waiting for the awards for the CM at risk contractor to get on board, so we can do some pricing.
Actually, no, that's Bluffton High School.
Oh, I'm sorry. you're
Yeah,
right.
Beaufort High School is on board. So right now, it's at DD levels and we're waiting for those design development documents to come on hand so that we can get some pricing from the CMs. I believe we should be seeing something towards the end of this month on where we're at with that budget. So, but that project's moving right along. And if I'm correct, and don't quote me right now, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I believe that we will start doing some of the work the following summer, so 2026 summer. That's when they will begin doing some of the work.
Wow, far up.
Well, yeah, I mean, the design itself takes about a year. Between that and if you gotta do some permitting, yeah. You could do, I mean, and that's being hopeful to get permits in a 12-month timeframe. I mean, it usually takes about 18 months. Yeah, so, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Site permitting is what takes the longest.
That's where everybody gets killed, the site permitting. All right, so moving to the other project updates. Right now, not much in the executive summary, but as we get closer to the summer, that's when I'll start doing some heavy reporting because everybody's gonna do the execution of a lot of the projects and there is gonna be a lot this summer. So everybody's gearing up. Some of the major projects that we will be doing, and this is gonna affect the St. Helena area and Shanklin. It will be the interior renovations to the classroom. So there will be nobody in those buildings. But like I said, once we start getting more updates on the construction, then I will bring some to the group. Just as what's going on currently, May River High School cafeteria expansion, which is the actual project that we have in construction. The steel is complete, roofing has begun, and actually from going to the site visit over there, they're waiting on some storefront glazing to come to the site. Once that's in place, they will start finalizing some of the rough ends and putting the ceiling grid. So that cafeteria expansion is gonna move right along pretty quickly once that storefront arrives, which I believe should be sometime in the next week or so. Any questions regarding the other project updates? All right, and then with community outreach, for those of you that were aware, there was a dedication ceremony at the Beaufort Middle School to rename the media center to the Caroline Ingram Lifelong Learning Center. That took place on the 1st of May, and it was well attended. I mean, the ceremony itself was very exciting. Request for proposals, RFPs and requests for qualifications. The only thing that we currently have out there are the RFPs for the construction manager for the Bluffton High School CTE. And we have the Riverview Charter Gym renovations in addition that are out on, we received the proposals and right now there's a selection committee that's been put together and they're coordinating when they will meet to make those selections. Obviously with graduation and all the testing and everything that's happening, that probably won't take place until June. So there'll be more to come once the data set. All right, any questions regarding construction updates?
All right, I'm good.
All right, well, thank you all.
Anybody online? Any questions?
I'm good.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Francis.
Oh, in terms of this, when the construction get done, how long are we taking to pay people?
Usually, so first of all, you gotta get the pay application from the contractor, but usually once we receive it, the turnaround is usually a month, I would say. 45 days is your typical timeframes, but a lot of what we've seen is taking about a month.
Once we receive the pay application.
Once we receive the pay application.
Which is in the final closeout documents or part of the final.
Well,
No.
you get periodic. Every month you get something and then the closeout, obviously that's when you fulfill your retainage, all that usually, and they supposed
let
to
you
be
go.
paid quickly. The only thing we talked about 2019 referendum,
I mean, it said.
one of the contractors, it was just getting the pay apps took forever. But once we receive that, for us, the clock is ticking, and by contract, we have to release that payment, otherwise there's legal implications to that. So it's, we work to get those pay apps turned around quickly. Obviously, we review them. If there's any issues with pay apps, the comments go back to the contractors as soon as those things are reviewed, so they can go and rectify those. And again, at that point, you put it back on the contractor and it's under court and they have to submit it, otherwise the payment can't be released. All right. Got it.
And where's the next clock meeting?
Tomorrow is the next clock meeting at 6 p.m. at Ocotillo Elementary.
Okay.
All right.
All right. All right, next up is 8%, unless you're okay with letting maintenance and custodial go next. So Brandy could jump at it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good evening, committee members. The report you have in front of you is the April maintenance and custodial update. I'll go through page by page, and then I'm just going to take a hard break at the end of custodial and then at the end of maintenance for questions. We're reporting inspection numbers through the end of April, with total inspections done by BCSD 115 and vendors.
And that copy is not in your folder. It is online in your document. If you're looking for it, it's actually not in the folder. Okay. Just make that clear. So I was doing the same thing, looking for it, and I realized it's not.
So 115 BCSD inspections completed this month, 594 completed by the vendor, tracking at an overall average of 81.1% on the district side inspections and then 86.1% on the vendor inspection averages. Going down the page, you'll see that we report on our highest averages, our highest and lowest for each vendor. For the Bud Group, ABM, and Interstate, our highest average this month was a nurse's office, and our lowest average were stairwells. We inspected a lot of stairwells that fell below our 88% goal this month. Moving on to page 2 of the report, we're reporting staffing percentages through April 30 as well. Overall staffing, as you can see here, we are starting to trend pretty consistently, which is nice. We're not seeing a lot of those red highlights and less yellow. All 3 vendors over 90% staffing, so that was a big achievement as well. Going down the page, you'll see deficiencies. We did have deficiency categories reported for all 3 vendors, specifically related to non-compliance of cleaning. So this just relates to our inspection scores. If they don't pass the inspection initially with an 88%, then that inspection qualifies for re-inspection. If they don't pass that re-inspection with an 88%, then that deficiency is noted. Moving down the page.
Okay.
You're okay. Okay. So we talked about deficiencies and then recognizing success. So the big one for our vendors this month, once again, we've got that overall staffing is tracking greater than 90%, which is what we want to see. We want to keep those retention levels high. All 3 vendors worked hard over spring break. We do our top coating and waxing of our VCT floors during that time frame in our common areas. Very similar to what we do during winter break. We do that same scope during spring break. So we were able to accomplish that. We also tasked based on feedback from our last committee meeting. We also tasked our vendors. You'll see here in the report the normal acknowledgement of a few employees of the month. But if you scroll through, we also tasked based on feedback from the committee last month to select employee of the quarters. So Sandra Venegas was selected from Okatee Elementary School for ABM. We had Miss Elaine Scott, who was selected for St. Helena Elementary School with the Bud Group. And then moving on to the last, we had Karen Dance, who was selected with Interstate at high school. So all three of these were reported as their quarterly employee awards, and these individuals were also qualified previously as a monthly employee award. Moving down through the report, you'll see additional recognitions for employees as well as for each group. They captured either pictures of special project work or some of the floor refinishing that was done over our spring break timeframe. So with that, that concludes our custodial report. Any questions related to custodial?
Anybody online have any questions?
I'm good.
Mr. Chair, at the appropriate time, I'd like to just make a comment if I may.
Okay, I'll get to you in just a second.
No problem.
Now, I do have a question, but I think that may not be for this setting. I think that would be more of an executive session question. So, yeah.
Mr. Guy?
Are you planning on doing a end of year survey with principals on their satisfaction, custodians like you've done in the past?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Dallas?
I just want to congratulate the team, the operations committee and et cetera, for celebrating these employees. It's so wonderful to see the smiles on their faces. That is a force multiplier. So just want to say kudos to everybody for their efforts to congratulate and recognize the employee.
I can just, and our plan is to invite the employees of the quarter to the board meeting to be recognized. So,
Oh, okay. All right, fun celebration. Everybody.
well, just part of the operations report, we can call them out when we get to that part there.
Sure, all right.
And based on my conversations with the account managers, they are intending on the employees are planning to be there at this point in time. So.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, moving on to maintenance. So total work orders for this period, 23,251. We are definitely tracking to be over 24,000 this year, which would surpass where we've historically tracked last year as well. 2,190 are work in progress currently. Looking down towards the middle of the page and paying close attention to our completion amounts, you can see that we are a little down from last month. We came in at 2314 for the month for completion, but we're still higher than our previous 2 years. So just kind of some thought there. Maintenance initiated work orders as well. We're still tracking over 40%. We did bump down a little bit from last month. We're still tracking over 40%. Moving on to the next page, this specific data that we put on here is to address a request that was some conversation that we had during the last committee meeting, and that where we wanted to talk about backlog work orders and what does that really look like. So what we did was we pulled our work orders in progress. We put them in buckets of age categories. Then we took it a little further and divided it up between maintenance and contractors. Because keep in mind, we have maintenance work orders and we have the other work orders that fall into our subcontractor categories, like our pest control management, our pond management service, our grounds providers, our custodial providers, and so on and so forth. So taking all that into account, if you look at our buckets, we're at a 13.5% with our 120 plus days aged. So looking into that category specifically, because that's a good bit of time to be open as a work order. What we saw in that analysis was that a lot of these work order delays were based on work orders needing to be forwarded to other subcontractors because they were outside the scope of work and maintenance. And so now you've got like trying to get subcontractors out there, as well as waiting for quotes to come through, waiting for the contractor to come out and schedule, waiting for funding to be approved, budgetarily. So that's what we saw as far as in the age category. The other thing that we saw, which we're really hopeful that when our new maintenance contract comes on board, we can start to address this, is there is a disconnect with our work orders in the sense that a lot of our subcontractors do not have direct access to update their work orders. So in that, they're having to manually report back to someone in our maintenance department to actually update these work order statuses. So that's creating obviously quite the delay in getting work order completion rates completed.
So we're getting a bottleneck after the work is completed through a subcontract.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So I just wanted to give you a little bit more, you've got the data there, but I just wanted to give you a little bit more support as to what we're doing, what we've seen with some of the trends of why these are growing as far as aged. Moving down towards, we're going to go into the work order by craft categories. So I will say, I just want to thank the committee for bringing up the question about the backlog analysis or tasking us, I would say, with doing this backlog analysis, because what it did was it put a redirection back on the operations department and the maintenance department to really start to look at, hey, what does our aging look like? Not only how are we completing work orders, but how are they aging? So what you see in that analysis over the last month is those completed categories in our craft categories, you see significant backlogs that have been addressed, because what we found was work orders were out there. They had been evaluated for completed, but then they were assigned to employees that were no longer with us, like previous project managers for, subcontractors and so forth. So I just want to say thank you for that, because sometimes when we're tasked with things as an operations department, it's another thing to do. But in this scenario, this was actually a really good exercise for us to do. And for now, we've gone through it. And so now it's already on the radar that we need to just keep on checking in and doing this and reviewing and cleaning house. So that's where you'll see those craft categories for completion. You see a lot of, obviously, like for instance, in lighting, 63 requested, 560. So that was that backlog where maintenance had to go through and they had to check to see, one, who the work orders assigned to and were those work orders completed, because they had been previously assigned to custodial vendors that were no longer with the district. Moving down the page, we had 2 requests for feedback last committee meeting for Beaufort High School. You'll see the one request was addressed and replaced. That unit is operational. And then the other is specific to the lighting and where that whole process happened with the Performing Arts Center, as far as from the start to the finish. Started with maintenance, went through maintenance. Maintenance did their evaluation, found that it was a $25,000+ project. And it was now time to bring in our operations construction project management team to evaluate that particular project and start having the discussions. Okay, what do we need to do to get this as a capital project? So I wanted to provide that information to you because that was something that had been brought up at the last committee meeting as well. Our 2 top categories for April was HVAC and general maintenance. The first one we'll talk about is HVAC with Hilton Head Island School for Creative Arts. So we had 32 work orders there. The large majority of those work orders were for units that needed to be resetted due to fault system codes. We had some additional work that we did there for drain pumps, rerouting drain lines, and also clearing drain pans. Moving to our general maintenance, Well Branch Elementary School was the top work order account for that particular craft at 46. Please note that 16 of those were duplicates. So what tends to happen is schools, when it comes to moving requests, they will put in moving requests and they will put those moving requests multiple times. So a lot of these were for relocation of specific things in the school and outside of the school. As well as they had some additional work that they completed with door sweeps, light bulbs, resetting water fountains and filters. So moving to work orders assigned, you can see here, if you go down to work order status, you can see here that we were over 50% with requested and completed. So that's good. I always like to see that we're over 50% requested and completed, as well as we were over 90% with completed within the 14-day period for north of the Broad schools. They did bring their completion rate average days down a little bit this month as well, which we also like to see. And then moving to the south of the Broad totals, again, their requested and completed were over 50% at 68%, with their completion within 14 days over 90%. And their average day of completion went up a little bit, but it's still under 5 business days. So that is good to see. Moving on, Bluffton High School was the featured school for the Blitz of the Month in April. You can see there, I want to point out that the biggest part of the Blitz for this particular school were those stairwells. And it is quite a challenge to navigate those stairwells with the ceiling tiles and the lighting. But maintenance got in there, they did it over spring break, and they were able to replace those lights and the ballasts and get those ceiling tiles changed out. So that was a pretty large project for them to complete over spring break. All right, moving to staffing. So you can see ABM is still maintenance wise, they're still tracking at an 87.5%. So we've had no change in staffing as far as momentum to cover these vacancies. We have had conversations with them as far as partnering with the school district. There was a suggestion made at a previous operations committee to offer the opportunity for them to put their advertisements for employment on some of our social media platforms. So we've had those conversations with them. They've agreed that they would love to partner with the school district and do that. So they're working up some sort of employment flyer, basically, that we can get those on some of the social media platforms. They have been, they brought their talent acquisition representative who was located outside of this region. They've actually brought her here. She's actually physically at the district office in their space. So they've brought her in a few times a week to try to just give more focus on the needs of trying to staff this contract, which they haven't been able to get momentum in doing. So
Which vendor was that?
that's ABM maintenance.
Yeah.
As far as their moments of success, again, they had a phenomenal success at Bluffton High School with the project work there. They were significant in the power outage at Hilton Head Middle School that we had this month. Where we were down for a day, but I mean, as you can see in the write-up, I mean, it was all hands on deck, and it took maintenance, it took general contractors. I mean, it took, I didn't even mention everyone here it took, but it was a major undertaking, and it actually showed, I put in there, it actually showed our ability as a school district to just have some really phenomenal collaboration with our partnerships in the county. So the last thing I wanted to point out is just our beacon notification system that we're currently using through Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer Authority. That's a platform they provide us. And it's still, we're still seeing the benefits of that in identifying those opportunities to get water shut off. You can see I put a few examples in there of some within 24 hours or 48 hours, we were able to find some wide open water sources at location. So yeah. And then lastly, I just wanted to, I wasn't able to attend the last board meeting, but Robert so graciously shared the support and the comments that was made during the operations committee report. And so I just want to extend my sincerest thanks for that support, the encouragement. Whether y'all realize it or not, it truly does reinforce the value of the work that I do, that Robert does, that our whole team does, when we get not only the feedback, whether it's positive or negative, but we also just get that, hey, attaboy, you guys are doing a great job and we value what you're bringing to the table. So, and that concludes the report for this month.
Any questions? I was gonna say thanks for your feedback too, in terms of good, healthy, conversation. That some of those things did bring out some, bring some of those questions did bring to some understanding of different things. That's good to know too, so that we aren't always we aren't always just beating their horse. That sometimes the people do have some points in terms of what that looked like. Well, I guess I do have one question about I was at a program the other day over at Lee's Elementary School. In the cafeteria, the lights it's dark in there, and maybe we could get a chance that we could check on that, because I think they said they put in a work order. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a lift or something that when that could happen over the summer or something as soon as possible, because it was just extremely dark in there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that, and also the clock at Beaufort High School. Not sure what we can do with that. The clock at you guys outside of Beaufort High School.
Oh,
There's a big clock,
right.
and I one day I asked when we asked the lady, said, "Hey, when she stopped, she said, hey, what time is that clock at?" I said, "I don't know." So she said, "Next time you come and look at that clock." So I said, "Okay." And so I went. I took a picture of it. The clock, apparently the clock is broken. Even need a battery or something, because they got to say at the same time. But I mean, these parents, I guess these people.
Talking about a clock like that behind you?
Yeah, but it's the big clock outside the school. You know, outside Beaver High School.
Okay.
There's a clock out there, and apparently, someone's mother, she looks at the clock, and obviously the clock
Hasn't been working.
yeah, so she asked me, "Hey, what the clock? Look at." She said, "Miss Mary, you look at that." Yeah, look at the clock. The clock right. She said, "Next time you come in, look at that clock and see what time it is." I said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's probably more to prepare it.
Okay.
Yes, we can definitely look at that.
Status of the contract.
So, polls are due tomorrow?
Maintenance site visits, so there's in this solicitation, there's a mandatory maintenance site visit where we go and we select a few schools to go to. We had a phenomenal response to that. We had 7 vendors.
Oh.
So I kind of speaking in the operations department, and everyone said, "Oh, we'll get 4." Like, we could count in our head, we think we could get 4. Then 7 turned up, and I was absolutely floored. So excited. I mean, that we've got that much interest in companies that want to partner with us. I mean, it's phenomenal. So we had 7. The solicitation actually closes tomorrow on the 14th. So.
And who's, what's our timeline?
It'll probably take us close to, it'll be in June before we bring a recommendation to the board. Hopefully the first meeting in June, but by at least the second meeting. Actually, what is today? Yeah, it'll probably be the second.
I would say.
Month from now.
So very promising.
I just have one question. So as far as the bottleneck of approving backlog work orders, was anything new has to be instituted, or was it just somebody saying, "Hey, make sure you check these backlog of approved work orders"?
So here's some of the driving. So one, yes, it's that. It's the second part of what you said. It's the, hey, we're watching, you need to monitor the work order system better because it's in our contract to do so. We're designated the accountability on you to do it, right? So that was the other side of it, one side of it. The other part of this was there are some manual processes that drive how work orders are completed in the maintenance department. And what happens with a piece of paper is you can just pretty much figure out in your head the track that that paper is going to take from the printer to the supervisor that then hands it to the tech that then goes out in the field and may or may not have it on the clipboard or in the dash that may make it back to the clipboard that then makes it back to the supervisor to then input the data into the system. So, and that doesn't even account for the fact that how much field time, how much windshield time do they have? So what this whole thing is allowing us to do is really think about when we bring this new maintenance contractor on, how do we want it set up? What does it need to look like? Our current school dude platform that we're in is a legacy platform. So we've been in it for more than 10 years. So then we have an opportunity to really evaluate that platform and say, okay, as a school district, do we really need to start looking at how could we move from paper, very antiquated manual processes to electronically? All of our maintenance field technicians have smartphones that are provided by Beaufort County School District. So could we move towards a platform that allows us or allows them to get the work order on their phone? We've talked to a lot of school districts that do this. You get the work order on your phone, that work order pops up on the screen. You literally have a timestamp. It's a little green button you hit, they hit it, it calculates their time as they're working, they hit it to stop it, and then it automatically puts that time onto that work order ticket. At that point, they can update the status of the work order, they can add any notes they want. And so things are getting completed in real time versus the days sometimes that it's taking to get a work order from start to finish. So those are some of the things that we're looking at developing in the new contract. And to be honest, if we want to stay focused on data and provide good data and go through this analysis to keep everyone honest and accountable, we have to make that move. We just have to. I mean, we have to be responsible with that. And that's really, truly the only way to do that. So.
And then it becomes a situation of pulling information instead of waiting for somebody to push it. I'll understand, be surprised I'm kind of surprised we haven't done this sooner. Ms. Boatright.
Echo those comments. I mean, it's beyond past time to get this information. The one thing I'll say is that we don't need to go from, this 1995 process we're currently using to the 2005 version of it. And what I'm seeing a lot of people making is kind of making their first foray like baby steps. But the reality is that the products that are coming out now, which absolutely are going to have AI built into them and absolutely are going to do a lot of automation, you need to get all your data in one place. So as you guys evaluate this, when people look at these software programs, they look for the functionality, right? So you write your RFP, we want it to do this, that, whatever, and then you go out and you find one. And usually people find them at these, conferences or vendor fairs or different things. But the reality is, and I mentioned this many times, we've got to get our data in one place. And I think before you guys go out and look for a ticketing system, which is very rudimentary. I mean, everything has a ticketing. Microsoft 365 has an app built into its environment strictly for ticketing. So ticketing shouldn't be a problem. What we need to do is look strategically at all the software that we're purchasing. Raptor for attendance, Tower School for grades, all the different, and we need to get on a platform. So I think, as we start to swirl about and understand, I think we're modernizing some HR stuff. We've got to get this more modernized. Don't go out and buy software in a vacuum to suit the needs of the specific job. There needs to be a strategic high-level discussion about, and you guys might end up deciding that you can only get what you want in a very siloed data system. But all this data needs to integrate, and that's where everything is going, and it's going very, very quickly. And then once you get the data into losing my train of thought, one central location, we can build so much off of that. So that's my one thing that I would say about moving this process forward is I think if you're going to do it, take a big leap. Don't just take a nudge into the next thing.
Mr. Dallas.
Are you recognizing me?
Yes?
Oh, I just would like to supplement what Ms. Boatwright is saying. It may be sort of like for me as a technophobe, not a technophile, might be looking at a more what you call enterprise type system that sort of brings it all together. So I'm not the techie that she is, but I do support that concept.
Ms. Frazier says, wonderful.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Well, once, twice, sold.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, the 8% project list. And, yes, and unfortunately, Ms. Crutchfield is unable to join us this evening, so I am taking her place and doing this along with Nick Vila, who's online to help answer questions. So real quick, I'm going to go through how this is put together, and we've kind of gone over some of this before, but follow along with the memo. You know, the main thing, where are all the locations where we got information? We have all that listed, which came from, you know, projects from the Community Project Review Committee, our consultants, such as our roofing consultants, the 2022 facilities assessment, and things that were still in there that needed to be done, deferred maintenance projects, some of the larger ones that came out of the work order list, our capital needs that are requested from principals, project managers, food service managers, custodial staff, anyone of that nature. We have life cycle replacement needs that we're keeping track of. A lot of that comes from the facilities condition assessment. The technology department puts in their input on what their needs are. Mark
is on.
Oh, he is there. Okay, that's good. And then there are some recurring projects, you know, such as tracks and paintings and things like that that we do on a regular basis, along with some of the things we need to replace, like fleet vehicles and school buses and marching band uniforms and instruments. Our total project need when we brought the 5-year plan was $364 million. And last time in April, we brought a list that was approximately $58 million. We did request from board members, you know, anything that would like us to look at. And one thing that was brought forward was to focus on safety and security, special ed, fine arts, asset preservation, and the district office remodeling. So based on that, we started with our almost $58 million list. And if you look at choice one, if we just focus on life safety, special ed, fine arts, and building assessment, those items are asset preservation. I'm sorry. Those items alone are $42 million. So that's larger than our $35 million topic. And so target. So what we're going to have to do is whittle even those down. What you'll find as we go through this, that life safety, those stay in all the options. Special ed and fine arts, you'll see going forward, they're in all options but one. And you'll see different levels of building systems and asset preservation because there's $41 million in a $35 million budget. We can't do all those. All right. So then if you move on to choice two, so this is kind of developing the framework on until we get down to that $35 million. So choice two, we took the district office, which has already been approved and allocated, all our recurring projects. So those are the paintings, those are the track replacements, everything that's on a life cycle basis that is supposed to be done, all of our technology projects, and then all of our high priority projects. So that's basically a good way of saying those are all our needs that meet categories that we're talking about. Fortunately, that's $44 million almost. So again, it's too high. So we've got to whittle it down from there. So we're going to choice 3, 4, and 5. These are all going to be at our $35 million target. And we're going to whittle each of these down in different ways for your consideration. So choice 3, what you see there is all that's already been approved and allocated at the district office is included. We scale back some of the recurring projects. we keep technology fully funded, and we scale back our high priority asset preservation projects. So what does that mean in choice 3? We're keeping the painting at Beaufort High and H.E. McCracken because they're seen as some of our very important ones that need to be painted. We're fully funding the roof projects at Hilton Head Middle and Bluffton Middle School, but then we're only partially funding SEA. Now, as I go through these, if you wanted towards the back, or actually each of these choices are broken down in detail so you can see what items are included. I'm going to talk right now just in generalities. Choice 4, the next $35 million target. Again, district office and everything that's been approved now allocated is fully funded. Here, we're fully funding your recurring painting and other projects. We're fully funding technology, but we're scaling back the high priorities even more. So on that list, you're not going to see the roofing projects. There are 4 big roofing projects. So Hilton Head School for Creative Arts and Bluffton High have come out completely. You still have Hilton Head Middle and what was the other one? Hilton Middle and Bluffton Middle, I believe, right? Hilton Head Middle and Bluffton Middle are the 2 roofing projects that are included. So then you have choice 5. This is a little different on that, in that the district office is fully funded and it's already been approved. You kind of have to. The recurring projects are partially funded. Technology is partially funded to a $2 million cap, and then the high priority roofing and all those are fully funded. I'm sorry, technology is partially funded. Recurring is partially funded. High priority is fully funded. So the painting is only for the Beaufort High and H.E. McCracken, but all 4 roofing projects are fully funded. And then we've created this nice little graph at the bottom that shows you the impact of all these different funding ways for each of these. So you see choice 2, everything is fully funded. So you can kind of see how those play out at the bottom. Choice 3, you see that we've removed a little over 5 million in roofing projects, a little more than 3 million. So you can see how all that falls. That is funded. Choice 4, you can see in this one, we're not funding the SPED and fine arts. And we have some roofing that's been removed, but we are fully funding technology and this building. And then choice 5, you see there that we've taken away almost 7.4 million in technology and 3.1 in painting. Then everything else is fully funded. So with that, I'll stop and I'll send any questions you have to Nick to answer. He's more of an expert on how all this is laid out.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Thoughts?
I'll start off. I think roofing, if you don't keep up with roofing, you have more and more problems. I can wait on a lot of other things, but in this climate, in this area, roofing, just if you don't keep up with it, get behind, couple problems. 1, you're going to have damage. 2, you will have a bigger budget, and you have a hard time getting enough contractors to get it done in our summers that we have for this. So I would just tell you, and I really think that roofing has to be funded. That's my opinion.
I agree. Mr. Dallas?
Yeah, I was going to follow up. Didn't know the colonel chair was going to say that, but I agree with the roofing. I think it sort of exacerbates it the longer you develop, the longer you delay. On the technology, going back to our earlier conversation and the proposal made by Ms. Boatwright, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be worthwhile for us to sort of hold the reins on technology for the near term for a year and really look at where the efficiencies could be gained from really superb use of technology and superb purchasing of technology that gives us that efficiency. And then we could let's beef that up with probably something new and would benefit all. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, you have anything?
I was just wondering what some of these high priorities are in terms of
If you flip back further in the, it's everything in purple are the high priorities.
They're broken out by section, so, if you want to, and also I'd say, so if you are talking about, we can go through these in detail. And it also say, so when you talk about technology, let's talk about what that is. Specifically, what you would talk about not funding if you're not going to fund that. Is there a one of these choices you'd like us to look at?
Well, it looks like we're kind of gravitating towards choice 3 or 5.
Let's, I guess, if you go to choice 2, it's got everything listed in it.
That's over 35 million, right?
Yeah, it is. You can see what like the high priorities are fully and what technology is fully. So if you go to page 11, high priorities there, you see at the bottom, you've got new sound system at Bluffton ECC. You have a roof replacement at Bluffton High School, a roof replacement at Bluffton Middle School, an HVAC system at Bluffton Middle School, ISD space improvements at this building. So remember, you funded the purchase of the HVAC, but you haven't funded the installation and the work in that area. There's some plumbing in the pre-K classrooms for a pre-K conversion that's going to happen this summer. We have to add hot water to all the pre-K classrooms that'll be overseen by DSS. There is a HVAC heat exchanger replacements in 2 locations. There's keep going. Bus fleet DVR improvements. This is actually it's kind of similar to technology, but our bus cameras are failing. What happens a lot of times, you go to pull the DVRs or their age, they're about 8 years old. So we need to replace those so we can ensure that the cameras are recording all the time. And of course, the cameras are aging, so that's what the 2 items are. HE McCracken, HVAC system replacement, HE McCracken, a special education outdoor area with Century, Hilton Head Creative Arts, sound system improvement cafeteria, Hilton Head Middle School roof replacement, Hilton Head School of Creative Arts roof replacement, MC Riley flooded parking lot, drainage issues, Mossy Oaks, HVAC replacement, Port Royal fire panel replacement. And by that, fire panels in all options because that kind of needs to happen. Well Branch, SPED classroom and Century room conversion. Well Branch Middle School PA system in the cafeteria and Well Branch Middle School ADA signage. So that's listed as all high priorities.
That's choice 5.
Mark, do you want to run through your technology items?
Ms. Boatwright.
Thanks. I was going to make some of the same points, but the technology thing, I would like us to be strategic in the acquisition of software and think of how to have a data strategy. The technology that's in the number in our 8% is like the devices. It's our network security. It's our data centers. We can't really, you need to be on a 5-year refresh plan for that, generally speaking, because they age out. And we also get E-rate funding. And so I know we have talked in the past about potentially moving technology into a little bit of a different category because some of that money will come back. So I don't think we can really, nor do I think we should, even though I'm advocating for more strategic focus on technology, pull money out of technology. We are very much a one-to-one district and we can't, back away from that. So I would hesitate. Mark knows better than I do about that. But my concern with the technology being strategic is just making strategic purchases on the software and getting everything to integrate. We got to keep up the hardware. I concur with the colonel on the roof. I also will say HVAC, y'all, is the #1 thing that has almost cost us teachers because you're like, I cannot teach in 88-degree weather. We live in a climate where half of the year it's untenable to be indoors without AC for, for most kids. So I think roofing, HVAC. Ironically, the thing that I will say I think we might almost need to pause on and be strategic about, and I need you guys to hear me out on this, is some of the fine arts investments, because we need to build the people and we don't just need to buy the stuff. I know there are closets full of defunct band equipment that could be cleaned up and repaired. And I know that, from the board of the symphony, that the symphony has offered to take that out. There's a guy in Savannah who could look at some of that. And I don't want to buy band uniforms for a band that doesn't exist. Right. So I think that I don't know exactly what from past conversations, like this is sort of an ongoing, recurring thing. I'm not certain that we should be sinking a whole bunch of money into the equipment and the uniforms without having the teachers and the students and the usage. So I would like to say, if we were going to kind of pause something, we need to look at the utilization. Like I was just glancing through there, the yellow gym at the School for Creative Arts. How many plays are they putting on? How many gyms are, just how are we using that? Let's look at the high schools. How many people are actually in the bands? How many uniforms do we actually need? Because which just as a funny side story, I was telling someone that the first graduation I went to at Hilton Head was in 2013 when my daughter played in the orchestra. And my son, who's graduating this year, said, Hilton Head High had an orchestra? Like, it doesn't exist anymore. So we do need to look at how they're actually being used. And then we need to invest money in the human capital. And maybe we can pull back on some of the the hard goods until we get the human capital built up, because kids don't care so much about the uniform if no one's in the band, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I would not support option 5.
Yes, go ahead.
Where's the what schools need band uniforms? Because just to respond back to her, we do have a couple schools who do have bands, and so therefore we should not let those kids not have uniforms, and they represent Beaufort County. So we do have a couple. We may at least I have maybe two decent bands. So I mean, once again we have to maintain what we do have, and in terms we can't just tell them, hey, just because we feel that we could spend the money on something else different that we don't value, because these kids do have feelings, and they do know when they're undervalued. So I would cognizance us to understand which ones they are in terms of what band uniforms we're talking about.
So
Mr. Nate, would you mind if I responded to that for just 1 second? Because I don't think anyone can accuse me of undervaluing the arts or undervaluing kids in the arts. What I'm saying is we need a utilization review, because great, if Beaufort High's got a bunch of kids and they need a bunch of uniforms, we should buy them. But I will also tell you that it is well known that we have a lot of instruments that through disuse could be picked up and repaired. So to continue to buy that without doing a needs assessment, I think is not the smartest move we could be making. But it is not, I don't undervalue, nor do I not support kids in the arts. And I think that that's an unfair assessment.
Well, just to respond to that, to be clear, Ms. Alba, I would like to think that they have done that prior to bringing this to us, because I don't imagine that the operations would not do what you said that they've done, which would be their homework before bringing this to us. So I understand what you're saying, but I do understand that I've dealt with a couple of bands in this county, and I've heard kids say that y'all don't care about us. And in terms of y'all as in board members, and I remember one board meeting, we had a band come here and they played outside, and it wasn't the best weather, and those kids felt some type of way about it. So I'm just saying, I'm just speaking from those lens, just to be clear. But we can move on.
If I can, just to answer that question a little bit, Nick, if you're there, what is our recurring cycle for band uniforms? I don't remember if it's 7, 8, or 10 years.
I believe it is on a 8-year cycle. I don't have that number in front of me.
So I think it is. Couldn't remember if it was 7 or 8. So our band uniforms go through an 8-year cycle, and then our instruments come from the ISD department. Miss Karen McKinsey will do a survey of the needs of the different schools and come to us a list of whether it's a middle school or high school or who needs instruments and how much they need for instruments. So that's our sources and how we do uniforms and instruments.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Chauhan, you want to come here, speak?
Sure, yes. So yes, I wanted to agree with Ms. Boatwright. This infrastructure is completely that. It is the backbone of the network. We're talking about UPSs, which are uninterrupted power supplies that provide battery backup and power conditioning. When the power dies, it holds the power until the backup generator can cut on. These are school servers. We have servers out in each school that handles functions like printing, DHCP handout. This is also data center gear. Some of our storage systems back in our data center. We currently have 2 data centers, one north of the Broad, one south of the Broad. And this is also network switching and access points. And as Ms. Boatwright was saying, this is very key to us because once every 5 years, when we make this purchase, we get E-rate reimbursement. Now, it does take a couple of years to get that money back, but out of a $5 million spend, we'll get about 3.2 or 3.3 million back. So we do save a lot of money by following these 5-year standards and utilizing any federal funding we can. And there's also some student devices in this money as well to maintain our one-to-one program.
And I do hear what Mr. Chauhan is saying, but I do agree with Mr. Dallas. I believe that to some degree, if we could, I'm sure we can cut the fat on something. I'm not sure what that may be. In terms, I remember we were talking about something not long ago. We were talking about having them. I think it was a budget. We were talking about kind of as the budget. We were talking about doubling down on the budget and kind of having them to even see what they could cut. And I would say it would be nice to inject that same thing here, even though you say that we need all this stuff. I think it would be now towards needs versus want, where we could save money and where we could get something maybe next year versus this year. I think that I would still challenge the technology department to see where we could possibly spend some cutting to bring those numbers down, so that we could possibly put it in other places that possibly may need funding. And also, as I pointed out to the board at one of the prior board meetings, we were talking about teachers were talking about kids don't know how to take time. Kids don't know nothing about paper and pencil. I think this would also be an opportunity for us to kind of get back to that or work our way to also involving that process into our day-to-day operations as a district. So I just would see what could be cut, needs versus wants, taking another look at what could we possibly get by within this year versus next year.
Anybody else have comments online? Okay, hearing none. It looks like we're gravitating more towards choice 3 than anything else. But that does underfund the roofing a little bit. It cuts out money from painting. But everything else, I mean, if the committee feels that strong about it, the 723,000 for sped and fine arts, we can apply that somewhere else. I mean, if it's sped and fine art under one umbrella, how do we spread that? I don't want to underfund the sped at all. But if we as a committee agree, we're fully funding technology. We got most of the roofing there. Arts are still getting funded. Anybody else have anything else? We got Ms. Boatwright said choice 5 would not be supported by her. And then roofing for choice 4 is way undercut. So choice 3 is about where we're at. What I don't want to do is say, okay, these are close to what we want. Can you go back and figure it out again? Because I don't want to do that. I would rather be one and done with this meeting and instead of piecemealing and try to send it back to the drawing board again. So are we in agreement to choice 3? Anybody have any disagreements against choice 3?
Well, choice 3 would cut sped out, and you know, sped is
Choice 3 does not cut sped.
So it's fully funded sped.
Yeah.
What it cuts out is some of your
Roofing,
painting and a portion of your roof.
Yeah.
One building, one.
You're,
portion.
out of 4 roofs, you're doing 2.5.
So what in choice 3, what would sped fall up on?
It's
on the category.
See, if you look at this chart right here, this is an easy way to see it.
Okay, I don't see it. I'm looking at this right here.
This is page 4, bottom of page 4.
Okay.
So you can see there, choice 3, the total amount in sped and fine arts is 723,000. So that stays fully funded.
Right.
Because choice 2 is everything fully funded basically. And so you can see the change.
Anybody have any disagreements against choice 3? Is there?
I was gonna say, our point here is just to show that you know, we do have to make some choices, you know.
Yes, yeah.
We don't have enough money for everything.
You must rob Peter to pay Paul
Yes, so
and everything. I get it. And I think choice of everybody that's had some input, choice 3 offends the least amount of people. Is there a motion to support choice 3?
I move that the Operations Committee approve choice 3 on a list of capital improvement projects to take to the full board for FY 27, 8% funding approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Any discussion?
So, but in choice 2,
Choice 2 is too much money. It's $43 million.
$43 million.
So it's not within your $35 million cap that you're trying to stay with. So what choice 2 shows, every choice fully funded basically, you know, that we're talking.
so now that's why would we bring that as a choice then?
Well, it's kind of to show you how it starts with everything fully funded, and then choice 3 and 4 takes in parts out of that. So it shows you what choice, you got to make a decision on what you don't want to fully fund, basically.
If we had the money, we'd do it.
Yeah.
Do choice 2.
And I don't, what you got to reckon, so painting, I would say is not a, I think it's a good choice to make. I'm not arguing with it. What we're gonna see is we then have to go tell some schools that your painting is gonna get pushed back, and we're gonna get some pushback. Now, you as board members, I hope y'all recognize that when we get pushback, that we can't fund that. So that's, but I think it's a good choice. I'm not.
I don't know if I would say if I want to support. I don't think I can support that, especially with Beaufort High School.
I think Beaufort High School is in choice 3. So if you look at,
Is getting.
yeah. I can tell you the ones that aren't getting funded. However, Nick, can I call on you to go through the painting jobs that will not get funded? Actually, it's on page 15. Is that right?
Yeah, page 15.
So, yeah. So here are all the ones, so, what doesn't get funded is the entire painting of Bluffton ECC, roof replacement of Bluffton High, corridors of Bluffton Middle, corridors at Hilton Head ECC, corridors at Hilton Head Middle. You only get part of your roof at SCA. JJ Davis corridors does not get painted. Ladies Island L, entire building does not get painted. Port Royal, entire building. Robert Smalls corridors. St. Helena, ECC corridors. Well Branch L, entire building. Well Branch Middle corridors. And what that means is all those will get pushed to next year. And I do want to note, because we've talked about this internally, as of right now, next year has $160 million in projects in it. Of that is a school, because y'all talked about that, kind of moving that out maybe into a different category, a future renovated school and a replacement school at the Fusky, which is about 80 million of that 160. So you're going to be, there'll be about 80 million in projects for next year. And now we're going to add another 9 million on top of that. So let's just say there's 90 million. So note that we're just pushing the can. I mean, there'll be hard decisions to make next year again. For those painting that we push off, probably need to be a priority next year because they've stretched a year beyond our system.
So at this point is more important painting or roofs?
No, I think,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
I'm just I'm just kind of laying the framework on what you're gonna see.
Mr. Dallas?
No, I think, it was- oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I looked at 5 and, going back to Ms. Boatwright's earlier comment about reducing to just those strategic things that are related to, current needs and spending the next year really looking at, technology strategically. And I think that would allow us to still do them, because I think in 5, most of the routes were covered. And I think that's sort of very important.
Nick, did you have something to add? Did I say something incorrectly?
No, it was one small addition, but you're good. It's
Okay, the motion on the table is for choice 3. Any other discussion on choice 3?
Does this have to be decided tonight?
I would say if it does not get decided tonight, I would be wanting to request another meeting. And we'd like to have it go to the board by no later than the first meeting in June. If it gets decided tonight, it will go to the main.
Is it possible to add it to like the executive session at the next board meeting to have people give like a week to look over?
We've already got the agenda set for the next meeting.
Well, it would come out of your operations report as a motion. If you get a motion that passes tonight, it'll come out of operations as a.
Yeah, if it passes tonight, if you want to delay it,
Right.
it'll have to go another meeting.
Yeah, I would request an operations meeting between now and the June meeting to go over whatever.
And in the past, we have done that. In the past, we have generally done that because this is very a hot subject. And I don't think that we've ever came in I don't think we've ever came in and actually made a decision based on the first night. We kind of looked it over. I think a couple of times we've had an additional operation because of this. So I don't foresee not having another operations meeting because I agree. This is a lot to kind of take in as well.
Now, if I can make a recommendation, I agree with you. What I'd like to see you do is have advantages and disadvantages of each of the 3 options. Don't change the option. Option 3, 4, and 5. Just have a list of advantages and disadvantages for each one.
And it can't be added to the executive session at all for the next meeting.
Oh,
Well, it's not an, you would have to wait. It's not an executive session item.
no, it's not an executive session.
And we did talk about this, and I mean, we put out to all the board members to ask for input, and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, we can kill the motion by voting it down, which is what we'd have to do to kill the motion on the table right now, because it's pending a vote. We could do that, but understand we're creating, even though we put out for information, we're basically creating another meeting for us to have. Just for this.
I mean,
And I understand, but it came back with a lot of changes as well.
Not changes, recommendations. These were the first recommendations, because I had asked to come up with at least 3 recommendations to give to the board.
And to be honest, from someone who's been on this committee for a long time, we've still came here and we've still have gotten here and said, look here, we need an additional day just to do exactly something that Colonel Guy has said. We have still, if you go back and look at the meetings, you will see that this is nothing of the abnormal of this committee doing. We normally would have a special meeting to make that recommendation to the board or to move forward. So I don't think that's nothing that we're not used to on this committee.
Okay. So I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying everybody understands that if we kill this now, we're creating another meeting. Okay. I'm okay with that. All right. So any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of moving forward with option 3 to the board signify by saying aye. Yeah. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
One nay, two nay.
Ms. Frazier?
Nay.
I thought she.
She's not on.
I thought she was on committee.
Alfonso Swall's on.
Oh,
yeah,
and he's not here. Oh, okay, gotcha. My apologies. I thought you were on the committee. Okay.
She's
All
not,
right.
but you are, and what are your vote?
Yeah, if the majority's gonna go nay, then I'll go nay also. Nay, 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 nay.
Nay, nay. All right.
Okay, so the motion dies. And now, anything else discussing this topic? Okay,
So now we need to set another meeting next week.
or get either next week or the week after.
Next week's the board.
Yeah, there's a board meeting, which we're gonna miss now for this.
Yep. And you have to set meetings anyway for June.
Yep.
So next week, your option is Friday, which is not an option. 23rd, that's Memorial Day weekend. So we're moving into June.
But we need to have it done before the June meeting.
The 10th is the meeting, and that week is all the graduation.
So you have the 4th and the 5th available. The graduation's in on May 3rd. So you have Wednesday, the 4th, Thursday, the 5th, to meet, or, yeah.
Fourth
Wednesday,
is-
the 4th, or,
Fourth is not an option for me. That's
Okay.
my daughter's graduation party.
okay. So you have Thursday to the
Yeah.
5th.
So anybody have any conflict with the 5th?
You know the day that they changed the meeting at Laser Middle School too? Do you know that new date?
It was the 20th.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
I'm good for the 5th.
I remember it was like the
Car's good
20th.
for the 5th.
I'm good for the 5th. Mr. Smith, are you good for the 5th?
Is the following?
That is a Thursday, Thursday the
Oh,
5th.
okay.
If that's not the date of limbs, then I'll be good for that.
All right, so operations at 5 o'clock on the 5th.
Board meeting's on May 20th.
Board meeting is on May 20th,
I
and
think it
then,
may be the 27th. Yeah, it's later in May.
Okay.
then and this will be a special call. So the board meeting on June 10th would be your regular operations committee meeting. So, do you need to set another date in June?
Because we're in conflict with what's going to be the board meeting on the
Correct.
10th.
We could probably just have the one meeting in June on the 5th.
June 5th.
Okay.
And
Do
do
our
a-
construction update and our custodial. Looking at my colleagues behind us on the 5th. That's a quick time turnaround for construction, but we should be able to do that. Huh? All right.
Right, so then we don't have to schedule another meeting in June
Okay,
tentatively?
Are we good with that? So that
puts a meeting in June, so we'll have a meeting in June.
Correct.
And
you'll have it right
Before
before the 10th, the meeting on June 10th.
Gotcha. All right, and
Be
then,
able to go to, okay.
But normally, when do we normally have it? The week after though, right?
You would have it on the second Tuesday, but in June, that's gonna be a board meeting because of the graduations.
Just
Of the
kind of
previous.
flopping with the
And like historically, last year, there was no operations committee meeting in the month of June.
Right, yeah, I'm aware. Right.
or we could do it another meeting on the 17th, but I don't think we need to. Are we good with the 5th?
Let's go with the first one.
Okay, let's go with the 5th. All right, now July.
So July, the only board meeting that is scheduled is on July 8th. So, and because you cannot have a meeting in July, because of the summer vacations and stuff, or you can schedule a date,
So,
or you can wait in June.
Mr. Auding, do you see a need for a meeting in July?
My only reason is the board asked us to report monthly on
Yes.
construction. So to meet that
Requirement
requirement.
from the board. Gotcha.
We would need to have a meeting in July so we can give a construction update.
So 8 or 15, anybody have a preference?
Or you can have it on the 1st, so that you can have it prior to the board meeting,
That's on the
July 1st.
The problem.
board meeting is on.
with That is
That's
it's
not
hard
the
for
board
us to get all our, the
Okay.
monthly,
Gotcha.
all the expenditures through, because they close it out at the end of June.
Only to June meeting only to June meeting to come up with that date.
Okay, that's fine.
I need to check.
I just trying, I mean, summer vacations, all kind of stuff. I'm just trying to put the rocks in the stream so people plan around them.
Because they start.
Yeah, I mean, because that, I mean, we're committing the staff to have to be here at the same time, and if we can give them a further out as much notice as possible, I would prefer to do that. Is the 8th okay?
The 8th of July.
Is the board meeting, so we could do the 15th?
Yeah.
Which is, we normally go the week after the board meeting anyways. Everybody okay with the 15th?
Let me make sure that's not somebody else's.
Okay.
Scheduled date, hold on. So that would be fine.
Okay.
It's going to free. So we said July 15th.
15th at 1700, yes.
Suggestion, Robert, when you do the advantages and disadvantages, do it by category. In other words, sped advantage, disadvantage, and coordinate with them technology advantages, disadvantage for each of the options, so that we can really see the whole impact. And that'll help us decide which of the bad situation choices we have, because there's no optimum.
No.
No, you have to decide not to do something.
Yeah.
Well, and then just specify, because that was a great point too, that whatever doesn't get done goes to the top of the list and must be done
Right,
the following year.
how you would deal with it. In other words, if this one's chosen, this is what we would do.
Like, just know these are the top priority of the following year.
So June 10th is the next board meeting, in June, right?
In June, it
June
is June 10th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then it's June 10th and then June 24th.
Do we know where those are at yet?
10th is here. June 24th is on Hilton Head.
Be able to raise that amount of
10th is here,
Correct.
and then July,
without raising millage,
Oh, yeah.
without raising millage.
which one's in Hillhead?
In July, nothing.
No, okay.
In June, it's the June 24th.
That same millage being bringing in more and more revenue as all these apartments
Mhm.
come
You
on
gotta dig up.
Yeah.
paying.
Uh,
So
Yeah, you're
I
right.
would not be
no,
surprised.
actually, we're down at Disney.
Oh.
That's our stuff. Yeah. The very end of July is when I leave for Sturgis.
All right, any other,
Future topics.
I would think of it.
I am-
Yeah.
With new
Bring up
Vehicle AR.
coming in, may be able to raise that up.
You say you bring a vehicle AR in June?
yes,
Yeah.
we hope to, yes.
Yeah, actually, yeah, and I do have a question. How much,
Tentative if we do get to that rate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We were trying, they were saying they couldn't hear. I'm sorry. You were saying.
yeah, in terms of bringing a vehicle AR, I would like to know, I think we possibly had got it one time before, but also, the maintenance and, what it looks like the cost of our vehicles for the last, what did it cost, what it has, what it has cost us for the last 5 years?
What do you mean by cost? Expenses?
Yeah, expensive in terms of maintenance.
Vehicle maintenance?
Yeah, vehicle maintenance for the last 5 years. And also, I noticed I noticed sometimes when I'm out there driving that, it's like our fleets are kind of growing. Like I'm seeing more and more, or it could be newer cars with Beaufort County School District. So, what would that look like, and what do we have in total in terms of vehicles? Did things of that nature in terms of bringing the AR? Those are a couple of things that I would like.
Are you looking for a specific reason to have them do this, or just because? Or?
Because in terms of spending money, I think that we need to understand what the district owns in terms of what opportunity, what options we have. I mean, we talk a lot about different opportunities in terms of students and of getting them different places and doing different things with them. And the more that we understand that district has like those bands and different things and the different teams,
So I was just asking so that they can be guided by your intent.
Well, My question that came up is that, are you talking about only non-buses, or you want to talk about buses as part of vehicles?
You can bring that, you can bring those up too. I mean, that's fine. You can tell us how much buses we have, because I don't know, we don't own a lot of buses. Right?
Activity buses.
Right, we own approximately 40 of our buses.
Right, and activity, like you said, activity buses, because I've been told that those activity buses have been breaking down, and yeah, I've got some different yeah. So yeah,
We when the last time we did a vehicle report, we're
Gave
gonna.
us one not that long ago.
Yeah, it's about probably the last 6 months.
Yeah, within last year, you have given us.
Yeah.
you can bring.
I'm thinking of a similar report.
Right.
Kind of what all the vehicles are, what their
Ages,
what their mileage are, yeah.
I know we got some stuff like I know we've got some trailers now, one off of Broad, south of Broad, different things, so yeah, we've kind of accumulated a lot of different resources lately.
Yeah.
In terms of this.
Well, and that AR we're talking about is the policy. So one of the things we're talking about is how do you sign new vehicles? If someone feels like that someone needs a new vehicle, what's that process? So that's what the AR talks about. And then on top of that, we can just bring a vehicle list on who all has vehicles, ages, what positions have vehicles.
Right. Sorry.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Good. And going once, going twice,
Okay.
and we're adjourned.
They've done this so far. They said, and when I did,